Hey guys and girls, it's Blackjack with 396 Guitars. We have a 5-string Ibanez bass, but not one like you've seen recently. Pretty interesting. It's a boutique bass, neck through body. I'll explain what that is in a moment. It's a brand new guitar to the player, and he wants it checked out and set up, so let's get to work. She's a pretty one. Still putzing around with cameras and microphones and stuff, so bear with me. Really nice looking instrument. Open wood grain, neck through. In other words, the neck is not set, the neck is not bolted in. It is actually one piece of wood that goes all the way through. This all is one piece of wood, the neck all the way up. The fretboard is laminated on it, and then these pieces are clamped, glued together, and then of course the body is routed out and finished. Pretty interesting. Very similar point of interest. My Gibson Thunderbird, same thing, neck through body. Very stable instruments, and that's why we do it. So in fact, my Thunderbird is probably one of the most stable instruments that I have. And I don't know who invented that or came up with that concept of neck through, but yeah, it's pretty cool. So initially, we always start where we start. We know this. Yeah, it's pretty tight. It's pretty darn tight. There's literally no relief. It is pushing the string up out of the way to try to find our relief. We're going to have to set the truss rod, certainly. Not a surprise. Looking at it, sighting it, it actually looks really straight. If there's any perceptible relief in it at all, it's minimal. String action, it looked as though it was kind of all over the place. Just over 6 on the B, just over 5 on the E, 6, 5, 5. So that's not enough on any of them. It's going to have to come up. But the first thing we're going to do is adjust the truss rod. I know this doesn't usually come out well on the video. I'm going to try to keep it low volume. It's got a locking output jack. Pretty cool. Make sure it's really low volume, because usually it just comes out distorted. That is probably our pickup separation. Yep. So this is our pickup blend. It's got a detent, so in the middle it's going to be both of them. That's got to be our master volume. Yahtzee. Detent in the middle. That's going to be our preamp volume. And I'm going to assume it has a preamp volume for each pickup. Yeah, I have this pickup shut off. This is our preamp attack for the neck pickup, and this is our preamp attack for the bridge pickup. Yep. And I'm going to assume master tone. Yup. Interesting. Very nice. Okay, so all the electronics are working. A lot of variables. Oh, I forgot to check that. What is this? Probably a splitter. I knew what I was talking about. It doesn't seem to be doing anything. I wonder if it's only... Yeah, I think it parallels the pickups, this switch. Regardless. Somebody out there will get on the blog and let me know. So we're going to move on from that, because really we're going to concentrate is the physical setup, the mechanical setup of it. I don't like, it seems as though the B is closer than everything else. At 20 thousandths, which a bass should be at 22 thousandths, and the B is definitely lower than that. But once we set everything up, we should still be close enough that that's not going to be an issue. Yeah, I think we'll be okay. Before we do anything else, I want to get in there and attempt that. I'm sure that's going to be either 4 or 5. Yeah. I'm going to loosen it and see where we're at. I'm getting to where we're slack. Ibanez put, yes they do. I'm going to loosen it slack and go into relief and just put a little pressure on it. It may be too much already. Yes, I can tell that it is. I can tell that it is. Although I could be wrong. Actually, that's pretty darn good. That is pretty darn close. I'm going to say it's a little too loose. So we're going to try that same trick. Take it off of all the way loose. Get it to slack, which is right about there. That's slack right there. We're going to go just into pretty stable neck. If that's what it takes, that's going to be pretty cool. Very responsive. Oh yeah. That's it right there. So right in the slack position, I tried first in the relief with just a little bit of pressure on it. It was too much. It had too much banana in it, too much relief. Brought it back to slack, and then just took it into straightening, taking some of that relief out and just put a little snug on it, and it's measuring perfectly. Now, in a couple of weeks, after this guitar goes through its paces, it's going to need to be rechecked, that especially. Because being a new instrument, it's probably going to need to be tweaked, but for now we can proceed. I'm not going to change the strings today. What we are going to do is do the intonation, the string height, the pickup height. Now that we're relatively happy with our relief, I think we can go right to that. Now, this is pretty interesting. Ibanez is always innovating new and exciting ways to adjust guitars. But what I see here, I want to make sure I don't start grinding on it without first making sure. I think that's our saddle heights, of course. No, the intonation is what it is. There's no locking screw for it. And that's what you have to be super careful of sometimes, is there could be, before you start trying to move your intonation forward or back, sometimes there's a locking screw. But this has just fender style saddle height adjustments. By the way, none of them are level. And that's our intonation screw. It's just a new riff on the same old thing. No problem. But they are individual. That's what's interesting. Each saddle is individually set into the body. I like that. It looks impressive as hell. Yep. Instead of having one bulk saddle assembly or one bulk bridge assembly and the saddles attached to it, each saddle is actually routed into the body and set. Reinventing the wheel. So, I wonder what size those are going to be. Probably 1.5, maybe a little smaller even. No, 1.5. So, I'm going to set the string height. And I'm going to tell you that 7 is where we need to be. And by putting a little relief in the neck, 7 is exactly where we're at on the B. But we want to make sure that we're level. Don't want the saddle to be higher or lower on either side. That looks right. This can be time consuming because it's fine tuning and you have to be precise. 7, I like that. 7 on the E. It appears as though I think it's just a little too tall on the E. I'm going to level that saddle and it should bring it right to it. Perfect. It appears as though the real adjustment on this was the neck relief was too straight, and that made our string action too low. 7. This one's a little low. That is our D string. These are hard to tell when they're level. I'm going to have to sight them after I get all of them and complete. Am I still in the video? I like that. And I like that. Now, I should have led with that he plays in a full step down from pitch, 440, and wants to sometimes play a half step above that. So it's important that we set this to, he told me it was already set that low when we came in, but now is when we're going to check all that. So there's A. From A, we have to go down to G. That's pretty low. E has to be F. Wait a minute. E has to go down to D. Almost got confused there for a moment. B has to go down to A. That's really low. But I think we're going to be okay. B, E, A. D is going to need to go down to F. Where are we? That's got to be too low. Off in this. C. Oh. I need a cup of coffee. I was close. The G string has to be at F. A, D, G, C, F. So far it's very stable. The first guitar we tried to do this with him, he didn't tell me that he was going to tune this low. But I can tell you, he called me back and he goes, "Oh man, it was." I won't mention any brand names, but it was a Fender. And it was, yeah, not responding well. So he's trying a different guitar, and to make sure that we're going to be stable in this tuning scenario. And we're good. I can almost assure that this instrument will be stable in this low tuning scenario. That's really low. Yeah, it's holding fine there. And our relief did not change, so that's the good news. Just to double check now, because I tuned it to what pitch is going to be on this guitar. I want to make sure our string height has not changed. No, good. Now, pickup height, regular adjustments. So really this guitar didn't need a whole lot of adjustment, but it's tricky Because now, once we're done with all this, we're going to tune it up 1/2 step and make sure that these adjustments stay. Because he wants to play it in both. I don't recommend that, but customer's always right. Pickups are really close, and they certainly do not need to be that close, especially on an active bass. Sometimes you can cheat a little bit on on a passive instrument, but don't need to on an active guitar because they're so responsive. You have so much control over how much you're pulling off of that vibration and preamping it before it goes to your amplifier. So far, I'm digging on this instrument. It seems to be really holding tune well. I would have to tattoo the note progression on my forearm because I just can't remember that stuff. It's rare that you get somebody who wants to do this kind of weird tuning. I guess there's some Korn music in his future. All right, let's see if it'll drop down 1/2 step, or go up 1/2 step rather. Which would be B flat, F sharp, no, E flat, G sharp, C sharp, and F sharp. Wow. Now, this is putting a slightly more tension on the neck, but I think because we set it up to be a full step down, it should tolerate both of these alternate tunings, full step and 1/2 step. But the proof will be in the pudding. If it actually doesn't change the neck relief too much. String height you can't do anything about. It's a little looser, but I'm not going to change that because he can play in all the way down and be fine that's where the critical one is playing the full step down. When you tune up another 1/2 step, then you're in basically 1/2 step down from 440. You gain a little bit, almost imperceptible, but it's there, a little bit more neck relief because you have more tension on the strings. And these are, let's face it, these are like goddamn cables. They're huge. String height probably won't change all that much, although it might be measurable. I think we're going to be okay. Actually, it pulled it up from 7 to 8. That one stayed. It's just below 8, reading 8, reading 8, 8, 8. So from 7, it went to 8. I can try. Where was I? I think it was 4. Let's try to find the middle ground. let's try to find the middle ground. If we can split the difference between a whole step down and a half step, maybe we'll be okay. Really want to get this right. Better. I think one more little turn, and then we're going to tune it back down and check it out. This is the oddballness of doing, you know, a full step. Oh, I want to play in full step and half step. Okay, well, sometimes you can get away with it. If you can get away with it with any instrument, it'll be this one. But it may not tolerate it. It just simply may not tolerate it. Seven. Now, when we go back to full step down, it may want to go into, it may start clacking. All right, this is going to be it. Now, I think we've got the different split, but I want to tune it down again and then measure the neck relief and the string height. I don't know if it'll tolerate both tuning. We're going to find out. Bear with me, folks. Okay. I get asked to do a lot of weird things. This is the first time for this. Yeah, it's just a little too tight. But if the instrument will support it, seven, 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 seven. Let's see if it will do this without buzzing. It's always great when somebody on the other side of the house decides to print something in my shop when I'm recording. I think you're going to be okay with that. Stand by for a second, folks. Okay, so I have the customer here with the guitar. I wanted him to play it in the full drop down position, and sure enough, the clacking is part of the sound that you're going to get when you're tuned a whole step down. And there's a lot of material that he has to play in his project at that tuning. Now, I have split the difference to have full step, and it's going to live mostly in half step. So once again, we're going to tune it back up to half a step only, if that makes any sense at all. Which is, again, B flat, E flat, G sharp, C sharp, and this is where I tune my basses half step, most of them. And then F sharp. This is at half step down from 440. And this is where this instrument is going to live most of its playing life. But it has the capability now to drop down and be a full step down from 440 and get that aggressive, clacking, industrial metal sound that you can only get when you're tuned all the way down. So I digress. We're going to pause, hand this off to the customer. We'll be right back. Thanks for standing by. All we were doing was testing the gear. So right now we're tuned at half step, and it's a very nice guitar. It's holding stability great. One last thing that I wanted to check. Factory always gets this right. I would have been absolutely astonished if it wasn't right. They'll screw every other adjustment up and ship a guitar and charge you $1,000 for it, but they always get the intonation right. Because that's a simple measurement from this point to this point, and if you measure that correctly, you'll have your intonation set. But when you're doing it by tuning, that's the way to do it. You tune harmonic at the 12th and hold the note at the 12th. You should also check the 17th, but I defy anybody's ear to be able to pick that off. Blackjack with 396 guitars, a little bit long on this video, but I wanted to show you something different with basses. Guitar is going to be played in full step down from 440 and a half step down from 440. It's going to live in half step mostly, but the only way to accomplish that really is to kind of split the difference in neck relief and string height and all that. Eventually the guitar is going to settle into a half step thing, and that's going to be it. We're setting it up this way for a show that this player is going to use it for, but we're going to tweak it again in a couple of weeks and see how it responds. We'll talk soon. Remember, if you dig what I'm doing, like and subscribe.